spinning to fade. There is no time to waste. I've got that lightning inside me. This is how legends are made.
Hey everybody, welcome back to our second recording of Mission Focused Mindset. Today, our topic is going to focus on training partners. So we have a lot to cover about this topic and some things that you might not have thought of before about what you should be looking for in your training partner and even how you yourself can be a good training partner. So, would you like to start off talking about some training partner qualities, Ronnie?
Yeah, so we kind of got on this topic, just bouncing ideas back and forth when we were in the gym earlier today. And whether you're new to the gym or you've been in it a long time, everyone's been around that one person that they're just sitting on the equipment. They're on their phone, scrolling through YouTube, Instagram. You're in there trying to burn some calories, get a good pump, keep the pump, and your partner's just taking all day to even get his first movement done. And then we've been on the flip side where some people are just complete meatheads and they don't know when to turn it on and when to turn it off. So it's a balancing act. You want to find the sweet spot of getting out of the workout what you need, but then shutting it down on time so that you can actually recover and get the progress you need out of that workout.
Yeah, so one thing we can talk about then is to make sure that you're making good use of your time while you're in the gym. That means you don't want to have a workout partner that half their mind's on the workout, half their mind's on the phone.
Right.
When it's workout time, at least for guys like me and Ronnie, it's not phone time.
Nope.
Unless you're filming a video for Instagram.
Gotta get the angles.
You gotta get a little bit of recording of the pump. But yeah, it's really important to not have your mind two different places. When it's workout time, you at least want to be mentally focused on the workout. If your mind's a million different places, even if it's not your set, if it's your partner's set, you should be watching them, pushing them. You could be critiquing their form, helping them get a little extra boost, because it can then trail into when you're getting your set, you see your partner off, not paying attention, on their phone, and then you're like, oh, I guess I don't really have to go this hard on that set because nobody's watching me, so nobody will know. It just snowballs into reducing your effort you put in. There's not as much competition between you and your partner. Right. Not that it always has to be a competition, not that there's a winner and a loser when you're working out, but it helps to push each other.
Yeah, you should be able to feed off each other's energy, and then it's a good gauge too. That kind of goes back into when to shut it down. If you do have a good training partner and you're both kind of pushing it equally as far as effort goes, then you know if they're fatiguing out and they're shot and you've put in the same amount of work and you're a little bit smoked, then it's probably time to have that talk and say, okay, either we're moving on to the next body part or the next muscle group, or we're just shutting it down for today and we got out of the lift what we need. So it's good to have that person there with you, because when you're on your own, it's much harder to know if you got out of the workout what you were there for and what you were trying to achieve.
Yeah, and all those factors of getting a good training session while you're in the gym make it very important for you to pick a good training partner and for you to be a good training partner. And then you can see each other's progress. So as one partner might be hitting PRs after a couple weeks, they might be motivation for the other partner to work harder and work on their weak points and push for their PRs.
Right.
Actually, one thing with that that's coming up is, as some of you may know, I typically come from more of a background training for hypertrophy, and I like to stay athletic, but that's where Ronnie kind of specializes a little more with the strength and the performance training. So you can talk a little bit about what we got up our sleeves for the next few months or maybe even year.
Yeah, definitely. So going forward, we're going to start easing into it a little bit more these next couple summer months, but really focused and hitting it hard probably in September into the fall and then into the winter. I get to take over his programming for the next couple months and show him what sport performance is all about. And we'll still keep hypertrophy in there, but now it's going to aid in the performance side. So as before, where maybe he comes in the gym and it's all high volume, chasing the pump, controlling the weight, feeling the muscles. Now it's more about pushing weight, moving fast, and trying to be explosive. So I get to teach him how to use his muscles that he built up, but now we get to go on to more of the nervous system and have them actually fire and operate kind of in the reverse of what he's used to. So it'll be exciting.
So what he was kind of talking about there is a lot of times with hypertrophy and some bodybuilding stuff, most of the time the goal is to, as a rule of thumb, make lighter weight feel as heavy as possible.
Yep.
So basically, you want to feel that muscle-mind connection in a very specific targeted muscle, and obviously you want to get progressive overload still, so you want to be pushing more weight over time. You want to grow that muscle. It needs to be able to apply more force, but you're not moving very efficiently as far as the compound movement goes, because you're trying to essentially do the opposite, what you were saying.
Right.
So you want to make that weight work as hard as possible for you, which has its benefits. Then you know how to really isolate things. You have a muscle-mind connection to know what to fire for what movements. And also, for people that may be injury prone, making a lighter weight be able to do more for you can have its benefits. But some things I'm hoping to get out of the strength and sport performance are what a lot of people that only do bodybuilding or only do hypertrophy all their life lack, and that's the explosiveness. Have you guys ever seen somebody that's bodybuilding all their life try to run or jump?
It throws you off a little bit.
It's all it's like having a big 12-cylinder engine under the hood of a Lamborghini, and it doesn't actually work.
Yeah, we gotta open up the horsepower. But we're gonna take what's your starting jump at right now, do you think? We should actually go in the gym and test, but
we should go in the gym and test. Probably something pathetic, maybe
mid-20s, maybe.
Probably mid-20s.
The goal is to get him pushing at least a 30, but hopefully I could get him to a 33 to 35 by the time we're done. It's gonna be a lot of dynamic work, a lot of speed work, lighter loads, working up on the force velocity curve, which he doesn't know a lot about yet, but he will. But like he said, whereas bodybuilding's more controlled, making the muscle do the work for you, now we're going to flip it to where we're more concerned about the movement and making heavyweight move fast. So he's used to moving lightweight slow and making the lightweight heavy. Now we're trying to make heavyweight light and move it as quick as possible. So with that still circles back to knowing when to shut down. So when he hits a PR, and since he hasn't been training like this before, just from getting a couple weeks under his belt and learning how to breathe and brace, or learning how to pack his lats when he's bench pressing and take the pecs out of it and use the triceps, he may jump up 100 pounds in our first month on really all three big lifts, just because his motor recruitment and his bar path will get that much better. But that being said, if he jumps up and hits a 20 or 30 pound PR, we have to know, you might have 5 or 10 pounds in the tank, but what was the purpose of that session? We're just trying to PR, get out of the nervous system what we need, and then it's time to shut it down, because similar to bodybuilding, if you do too much, you get sore. But on the performance side, you don't necessarily get sore. Your nervous system shuts down, and now you come into the gym a day or two later, and a 45-pound plate you can barely pick up and put on the barbell. And sometimes that lasts 2 or 3 days. Sometimes that lasts up to 10 days. So the balancing and knowing how hard to push it and tracking your volume and your load, it all comes into play.
Yeah. Yeah, and one thing you mentioned there a lot is training the nervous system, which is something that, from a generating force standpoint, I don't really focus too much on with my current and historical training. I focus on it for my muscle-mind connection a lot. That's very important for bodybuilding and hypertrophy. But that's something I intend to, or anticipate, really developing a lot is being able to have the nervous system and be able to fire a lot of fibers and make force quickly for explosiveness and strength. I don't really intend to pack on a ton of new muscle with this. But I think there are some areas that might be stimulated.
Right.
I think with my main muscle groups that I already train with hypertrophy and have been training for hypertrophy, they might get a little denser, but I don't intend to like pack on a bunch of mass.
Right.
But I think some little areas may fill in, may get thicker. Hopefully in a good way.
I hope.
No,
keep the diet.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited for it. But yeah. Then my intention is, for one, I like athleticism. I've been in sports all my life, but to be able to carry the strength and performance training back over into hypertrophy, so that I can and have the nervous system working to be able to push heavier weights with my hypertrophy movements and stimulate greater loads on the muscle with a good muscle-mind connection, and be able to take my hypertrophy to the next level. While I might not be seeing newbie beginner gains, I think for that year-over-year stack-up of lean gains or main gaining, I think it could be a great spark to keep my fitness journey going to the next levels of where I want to keep going.
And what's interesting is, so he's come from hypertrophy, now he's going to performance, whereas I've probably spent the last 3 to 5 years training more performance, just with playing college football, and then just the way I've trained the athletes, I've trained like them. I built most of my shape and physique from performance, but this year I did a full bulk with him on the meal plan, and it was tough. I wanted to run and jump, but I really had to pull back and just focus on hypertrophy. Even going into the cut and having all that strength background helped me. I mean, my physique looks way different this year than it did last year.
You've changed
and
a lot.
I'm not even as lean as last year, but just if you look at me, I look leaner because of the amount of muscle mass I was able to put on. But I do think that's because when it comes to like those higher rep sets, I am able to use a little heavier weight than if I didn't have that strength background before. So I'm able to push more training volume into my muscles, and I think that helps with the maturity and the density and the thickness and the recovery, because of my body, how you recover under heavy load is totally different from how you recover mentally and physically from hypertrophy. I feel I'm torn. I love both aspects of it. I always have to have a 40-inch vertical. If I don't, I'm done with training. But I also need to look jacked. So I kind of like both ends of it. But I found there is a happy medium, and with this plan, I'm going to do it with him. We're going to find that happy medium of almost like power building on how far can you push the strength work and bring up lagging muscle groups, but still recover. And that's what's really hard. If you're fully committed to hypertrophy, you can change your physique and make it look amazing. And if you're fully committed to strength and performance, you can still look pretty good, and you'll get crazy fast and strong. And for athletes, that's what you want and what you need, because that extra muscle tissue and that extra mass doesn't carry over to the field the same as maintaining, and maybe you need to tighten up or get a little denser. But when you're an athlete, you don't really want the scale to change much. You just want your strength to weight ratio to go up, and that's where the performance happens. For us, we're kind of in the middle. We're not playing sports anymore, so I want to see how far we can drive up our numbers in terms of in the weight room, but on the scale, what's our density, what's our body fat going to be looking like, but also how much better can I get John at sprinting, and then how high can we jump to. So it's going to be a cool balancing act to kind of see how far we can push both, and then at what point does one take over and hinder the other. So I think it's going to be a cool experiment to see as the year goes on.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. I've kind of, over the years, built, I mean, most people, they always want to get bigger.
Right.
But I've built at least the shape and what I feel like is a comfortable amount of size to have on. So that's why and that was somewhat my main priority, since I was pretty athletic off the bat. I mean, I played college sports. But I'm at that point now where, since I'm happy with the progress I've made with my shape and hypertrophy, I kind of want a new challenge, and also I want to be able to have the full package of you got the show and the go.
Yeah.
So
Gotta look the part and perform.
Yeah, it's I like being well-rounded. It's just one of my attributes I like to strive for, and be able to perform. So one thing that I want to talk about with getting back to training partners a little bit and how this is going to play into what we're doing together when we go through this meet performance, and then hopefully the really refined power building program that we get out of this, which I'm super excited for, because long term I would love for that to be kind of my training styles, power building.
Right.
Still performing, staying healthy, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Healthy with, like your general health. There's like blood tests, make sure everything's good, which we keep everything very clean,
have to.
Yep, keep it like that. We're getting all our nutrients we need to as well. So both from the health aspects like that, keeping it good long term, and then also injury free. So I know Ronnie, working with athletes all the time, he builds them up to be strong, not get injured, and be able to perform.
Right.
And that's a goal I have for my life, because I plan to be doing fitness for my whole life.
Well into our 50s at least.
Yeah, I don't want to get into my 40s and then say, oh, this nagging injury has been bothering me for 15 years.
Right.
It's going to take me out of working out and doing what I love for the next however many decades of my life.
Yeah.
So both that and I think the accountability that it's going to give both Ronnie and I to be doing this program together and push each other for results and staying on track and staying true to the initial goals we set out with the power building.
Yeah. Because
like we mentioned before, I am kind of biased towards hypertrophy. I really love that training.
Right.
He goes crazy if he can't do jumps and sprints.
I go mad, dude.
So, keeping each other on track to make sure that we're sticking true to what we set out to do, and seeing through the whole process is going to be really cool to see, and important to, again, having a training partner to push you through it.
Right.
And, if I was doing this all on my own, I might say, 2 months in, my verticals increased 4 inches, and, that's good enough. I'm going to go back and train hypertrophy.
Right.
I could be stopping so far short of my potential.
Right.
And then that's
and
where
then you won't know. You'll never know.
Right.
You'll never do it again. You won't know.
Right. So sometimes a training partner, when they come from a different background, or they have slightly different ideas to open you up to, whether it's with training goals, such, you can use them to feed off of and keep you accountable to pushing yourself in an area and seeing your true abilities that you may not have stuck with or had the desire to push through on your own. So
yeah.
Do you have anything to touch on that? Otherwise, I got a new topic to dive into. I just don't want to overrun what you.
No, let's roll into the new topic. I think we covered it. I'm really excited to start this plan and just take it from start to finish and see what the polished end result is.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be exciting.
We'll document some stuff. We'll keep you guys updated, assuming it's going well, which
yeah,
I have all the intention it will.
We plan on doing a vlog, at least a weekly vlog of the type of sessions he's doing, what the progress is. He'll test just like the athletes every 4th week. And we'll journal everything. He's going to be in our Team Builder app so we can track all the volume and see the numbers change as we go. So it'll be a cool little experiment for both of us.
Yeah. And one thing to clarify with this program, for my goals for like my weight, body composition, all that, what I am intending to do is stay around maintenance, stay around my same body weight within plus or minus 3 pounds or so,
mm-hmm.
and really focus. Right now I'm at a healthy body fat percentage for really being able to train hard. I'm not too low
Right.
that, you know, I've just got wrecked energy levels, and I think most people definitely would not consider me too fat. Like, I've still got all my abs.
He's not fluffy yet.
I'm not dirty bulking. So I want to stay around that same weight, keep my calories around maintenance. Obviously, I'll be taking care of my nutrition plan during the time, and it'd be great to see, while sticking around the same weight, if I even get some body recomposition, if I
get leaner,
build a little muscle. I mean, I'm assuming this type of training, I'll be stimulating some new muscle.
Yep.
So while I don't really intend to see a ton of muscle growth in my main groups I already train with hypertrophy,
right,
I do expect to see some different muscles I'm not stimulated enough
definitely
come up. Or even, for example, with bench, like, my chest is one of my strong points. Like, I've got a chest that can push some force.
right.
But like my barbell bench, compared to Ronnie's, like, I don't think I can barbell bench as much as you.
It might be close.
Which maybe. I guess we'll see.
We'll find out.
But they might require me to bring up some weaker points, like maybe my triceps. Maybe they have to grow.
Right.
So
right.
I'm just really interested to see how it goes. Sticking around the same body weight. Really focusing on training hard, and then next year probably peel things away a little bit and see what we've built.
Force me to do a show with you.
Yeah, so we gotta get him in a show too.
We will. But yeah.
One thing maybe you can talk about a little bit is training and being able to, say, like, flip the switch to, like, really get in the mentality you need to for some of the super intense sets, like the things we do when we train.
Yeah.
You can't do it if you're not in the right mindset.
Right, and that goes for both styles, whether it's performance or hypertrophy. One, you know you're probably going to leave the squat rack and puke if you're going crazy. Sometimes me and John, 3 weeks ago, I think we took 315 for as many sets as we can of 3 reps on squat, which killed us. We should have stopped. But then we brought the K-box out, and we measure like the force and the wattage, and we were pushing that. We probably did a good 100 reps on the K-box. And John, I sent him a video. I was literally crawling to the bathtub trying to get in some hot water and some Epsom salt because both quads completely locked up. I couldn't move, and that was brutal. But just mentally to prepare yourself for that, I can tell you right now I would have cut those squats probably in half at least in terms of how many reps I did if it was just by myself. Because at a certain point, you kind of know how far you're going, but also it is good to take it to the extremes every now and then, because you do increase, sometimes depending what lift you can do, you can increase the natural levels of testosterone in your body for a short period of time. But really, you can spike all types of new protein synthesis as long as you know when to shut it down and your recovery's in place. So you do need to take it to those high levels every now and then. But again, that was 3 weeks ago, and we haven't done anything like that since. Right. So you can't do it all the time. But then when it comes to performance, as those of you that train with us know, we do max effort twice a week. So it's a lower body session and an upper body session. Mentally, when you're about to pick up a max deadlift variation or even put like 500 or 600 pounds on your back for a squat, if you're not mentally sharp, if you're not thinking about the checklist, breathing, bracing, if you're not focused on how you're going to walk out on the rack, keeping your upper back pinched, your eyes up, chest up, that weight, that's a lot of weight. Your knees can buckle under you. So you have to be locked in that as well. You can't be on your phone goofing around and just step under and unrack the weight. You have to be very dialed in. Even as you're doing the rep, you'll hear us yell, hips, 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 reach back. If you're not turning on the right muscles and only the quads are working and not your hips and glutes and hamstrings on the squat, you may tear a quad off the bone. So it's a different type of mentally locked in, but you have to be focused and know what you're going into and make sure you're prepared for it before you do it.
Yeah, that's a really good point you brought up there. You can't just hop into it and do it. It's really helpful to be able to even run through the lift in your mind before you do it.
Yeah. You have to.
You know, like visualize, get under the bar.
Yep.
Like you're saying, all the cues that are going to be coming your way with bracing, using all your muscle groups in conjunction.
Right.
You know, you don't want to lose your brace and cave. You just can't afford to forget about that stuff or try and think of it all in the middle of your rep.
Yeah, it's not forgetting.
You know, you got to run through that in your head. You got to know, you got to have a game plan, not just for what your workout's going to be, but how you're going to perform each movement. And then on top of that, being able to reflect and learn from your lifts.
Right.
You know, if you keep squatting, you never learn how to brace, you're not going to see the results that
right.
you could. Just like how you would want to reflect after playing a sports game. Say, like I played soccer through college. If you just go play a soccer game, all right, and then after that 90 minutes, your mind just turns off, it's done, you don't think about soccer until the next game comes around.
Right.
I mean, obviously you're going to have practices and such through there, but you need to think about, you need to have like a recap of what you did, what went right, what went wrong, what worked for you, mentally ingrain how that felt and what the right things were. You know, put yourself through those situations mentally again, so when you hop back in there next time, you can actually hit PRs.
Yep.
You can push yourself further, and it's not like, oh, this is new again. Like, here we are again. Let's try and stumble our way through this again and see if we got any better by chance.
Right. If you're locked in, you can dial things in. Or if you know, say you missed the squat because your glutes were weak, maybe you can't get out of the hole fast enough. Maybe your quads are too weak. The whole point of like the max work is it's to find your weakness, not to fail, just to find your weakness. And once you expose it, move on. But if you're not locked in, or you don't have a training partner that's locked in with you, and then maybe they're on their phone not watching, they're not going to tell you where you missed the lift at. So I don't want to say it was a waste, but now what are you going to train for the next month? You don't know what your weakness is. So yeah, you may hammer out quads, but if glutes were your weakness, that lift isn't going to go up the next month because you didn't hit and hammer the weakness. Same thing with hypertrophy. Like John will watch my squats all the time, and if we're doing like high bar, really trying to dial in and grow the quad suite, I'm used to box squatting. If he's not watching me, a lot of times I'll just sit too far back or have too wide of a stance, and yeah, it's still going to hit my quads, but it's not hitting them in the way that I can get the most out of it. So he might tell me, keep my chest a little bit higher. Maybe I'm slouching down or not staying packed or tight. Or even sometimes maybe I got to point my toes more forward and bring my stance in a little bit. But if I'm not locked in and he's not locked in, he can never see those things to tweak on me to help me get the best out of the set.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. So, big takeaway from the last few minutes of what we've been talking about is to learn. Because your body, if you provide it with the right stimulus and the right nutrition, it's going to grow. But you've also got to do the right things. You've got to be able to perform the right movements and be able to fire everything and apply force. But you've got to be able to learn from it. And that requires both you and your training partner to be locked into what's going on.
Yep.
Like he mentioned, you know, if you're doing a squat, you don't just, unless you this is actually a good point. If you are working out alone, it can be very helpful to record yourself.
Yes.
Now, sometimes if you're recording every single set, yes, it's going to slow you down. But if you've been struggling with a lift or you're not seeing your weight going up, record yourself, because that's the same
100%.
value that a workout partner would be giving you. Now, granted, it's a little better because they can give you cues if they know what they're doing.
Yep.
And help you fix things on the spot. But the next best thing is to see what you're doing from a video. Be able to analyze that, fix it, like you said, bring up your weak points, know what to train in order to get better at that movement.
Yep.
So, like you said, for example, if your glutes are your weak point, right, then you can do some glute training.
Right. Yeah. And lock it in.
Now, in summary for our podcast on training partners, we've got a few points to wrap it up and give you some points to walk away with.
Yeah.
And you want to give some?
Just recapping a little bit, make sure if you do have a lifting partner and it's not your set, make sure you are focused and dialing in so that you could pick apart the strengths and weaknesses of your training partner as they go, and you could help them dial in the movement and the lifts as they need.
Yep. And I would say make sure you have a training partner where your goals are on the same page.
Yes.
And you're pushing yourself, pushing each other and yourself to match the intensity with your goals. Push yourself for things that you may not think you're capable of on your own. Push your partner a little further than they think they can go.
Yep.
And then hopefully they give that same energy back to you. And even if you are alone, try, and you don't have a training partner, try and do that for yourself. Act like there's somebody watching you. Work just as hard when there's nobody watching you as you do when there's somebody watching you, and learn how to push yourself as hard as you can safely to get the most out of your training.
Yep. And then also, just to kind of end on, make sure going into the training session, you know what the purpose is and what you're trying to achieve and get out of that training session. If it's strength, know that once you hit that PR and you train the nervous system, it's time to back off. If it's hypertrophy, know how far to push it so you can stimulate that growth, and then same thing, back off so that you can still recover. Training session doesn't do you any good if it takes you 2 weeks to recover from it, because that's less time that you're able to hit it, and more frequency that you're able to get after it, the faster and the more growth you'll be able to see. So just make sure you know the focus and the purpose of the training session. Make sure you're locked in, and make sure you and your training partner are pushing each other to see the results that you're looking for.
Yep. Train hard, learn from your sessions, keep each other accountable, keep yourself accountable, and keep listening to Mission Focused Mindset.
Like and subscribe.
We're out.